Right here, we've got a little Coco and we're going to do some loose lead walking with her today. Essentially, first of all, we need to establish what our criteria for a loose lead walk is. And for me, that's very simple. Okay, number one, dog must be on a loose lead, clearly. Number two, I like the dog to be walking pretty well either in line with my legs, so their shoulder blade is sort of in line with my legs, sorry, or behind, okay? So I just draw a line like this, and typically my lead foot will be in front of their sort of face area or snout, muzzle. So like they can be here or back, and again, not a problem if they're back as long as there's a loose lead. So if the dog does fall behind us and the line goes taut, we want to keep walking essentially, and pull the dog along, and the dog will come off that pressure. If the dog is out to the side of us pulling, we can give a little leash correction or say leave it and keep walking, or both, okay? And essentially, yeah, anyway, we're going to go in line or behind, just so that we are able to take in the environment before the dog does, as a number one. But also it gives the dog much better opportunity to actually focus on us, but also follow us, okay? So if the dog is walking in front of us and we change direction, it takes a long time for the dog to actually be able to or not understand, but recognize that, or, you know, be like, oh, they're going that way, right? So it can take a lot longer, whereas if the dog's beside us, they can actually follow us quite easily, and it, again, creates that leadership role for the human, but also, it's also a very clear picture for the dog that they can't walk in front of us, okay? So what we're going to do now is essentially use our yes marker to indicate when the dog is in the right position or doing the right thing. So again, meeting criteria, loose lead. But then, so there's no formal command for this behaviour. We just walk. It's just an expectation, I guess you could say. And yeah, using our yes marker to indicate when the dog's doing the right thing. But the way that we're going to actually implement corrections to start off with is by walking in a straight direction. As the dog does start to drift out in front of us, so by the time we're sort of back ribs are sort of passing our front foot, that's when we want to plant our foot, hold our lead pretty centrally, and change and pivot direction quite quickly. Okay, the reason we want to pivot quite quickly is the dog will hit the end of the lead, apply a self-correction, and be forced to follow. Okay, I briefly said then I like to keep the lead over my thumb like this, clasped around like that, and on my belly button. So my middle finger is on my belly button. If the dog does pop out there and then I change direction, I don't actually have to do anything other than keep my hand here, and the dog will hit the end of the lead, get the pop, and come back off it. In the long term, you can, or even short term really, you can, if your arm is central like this, you can give a little pop as the dog hits the end of the lead if you want, but it's not necessary to start off with. And then as well, down the track, when we do start to layer corrections over the behaviour, you want to sort of remember that amount of force where the dog has hit the end of the lead. So like, just remember what that sort of felt like, and that's what we want to replicate as a correction down the track, okay? So like, we're not having to give heavy, hard corrections. It's literally just replicating that change of direction pop that occurs, and that's pretty well how to give a correction. Again, you can increase the significance or the severity of it by just adding a little pop if you need to. Like, there is certain circumstances where you will need to, like, if you give a correction and it doesn't correct the behavior, okay, you would need to increase the intensity of that, and that's when you would give that little pop as well. But again, it's like that. It's not, you know, there's no massive force applied. It's just that pop, right? As I, yeah, sort of, and that's, again, if the dog drifts out to the side, we can just go pop to get them back in. Should self-correct, okay? Then they feel that pop. It's like, oh, I got to tune back in. Should come back onto our heel or onto our side here. But yeah, anyway, let's do a demonstration. Jeez, forgotten my words. Demonstration. There we go. So essentially, what we want to do is just, again, I'm not even listening to myself here, but walk with our lead on our belly button, keep going in this direction. I prefer the dog to be on my left hand side, but I am not super critical on that, okay? Doesn't really matter. Dog just has to be behind us. Yes! So you can see she's behind us. Lead's pretty central. We've got the food, so at this point in time we are going to do a fair bit of reinforcing. Yes! When she is in the right position and doing the right thing, okay? And again, we're just walking. What we can do, because she is actually quite good at this, is we want to start changing directions anyway, okay? We just want to do some random direction changes, and you can see like these changes in direction are applying pressure to the lead, and they are semi-correcting her and teaching her that the only way, yes, the only way to avoid it is to actually engage and follow, right? So she can see that and she is acknowledging. And we can turn both ways, right? So like if she is drifting in front of us and we want to turn left, we can just walk into her, okay? And that spatial pressure that we apply when we do that is going to correct her as well, okay? But at the same time, I'm not using a whole lot of pressure with this, right? We're just walking, walk, 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 change direction, change direction. Now what we can do as well, yes, she's got that insane amount of focus. So if we did want to keep reinforcing that or keep strengthening that, what we could do is, I don't know why she's drifting behind me, maybe it's the food. If we want to keep strengthening that focus, yes, we want to start marking and reinforcing when she is looking like that. She might have dropped that food then. So like if she is walking, if she walks in behind me, I'm going to start pushing her back onto this side or pulling her back onto this side. Yes. But yeah, working on that engagement, if we want her to start tuning into us, yes, we can give yes, we can give that reinforcement. Oh, dropped it again. Sorry, princess. Pretty average handling. This way. This way. If she, so I gave her a couple of opportunities there. So she was distracted. She definitely eaten the food, but she was definitely just making sure she didn't miss any crumbs. But I said this way and applied pressure. Then gave her the opportunity to respond. She didn't. So I said this way again and applied more pressure and pulled her out of that. Sort of moment there. This way. But yeah, we can start using the this way command even to give direction change cues. This way. And what that will actually, yes! That will actually do is give her the opportunity to respond. So it's a bit of coaching. It's not necessary, but it's a nice little, it's a fun thing to do. Yes! Whoop. That was a good example of what not to do. So I held that food a little bit high there and she jumped. We want to make sure that we're reinforcing her at her level so she doesn't jump. Again, that can become a bit of a problem behavior if she starts jumping into the reward or jumping to gain access to a reward, okay? As you can see, that transfers over to gaining access to kids, gaining access to pets, sorry, etc., etc. But yeah, she's a great little dog, yes! And I think that if you guys could practice this, she'll be a superstar, yes! And really, again, trying to harness that engagement with her. So when she's looking at us, yes, she doesn't have to necessarily be making eye contact, but just looking at me to see what's going on. Yes. But yeah, hey, good girl. Hey, good job. You're a clever little cookie. Clever little cookie. Hey, very good. So give that some practice. Again, small sessions are better than big sessions. 5 to 10 minutes of loosely walking is heaps. Do that 2 or 3 times, or yeah, at least every second day, until the next class, and we'll see you then.